early 1274, Saint Thomas Aquinas rested at Fossanova Abbey in central Italy, weakened by travel yet steady in prayer, where a life disciplined by study and worship settled into quiet expectation, shaped less by finality than by habitual attentiveness to God. Long before illness confined him there, Saint Thomas had formed a rhythm of humility, fasting, and silence. Believing truth ripens through patience, so even as his body failed, the familiar order of prayer continued without urgency or display within the abbey walls. Those present at Fosanova in that winter season noticed no signs sought or expected. Only a scholar priest attentive to liturgy, whose long devotion to reason and faith had trained him to wait, not to demand consolation at the threshold of death. Saint Thomas Aquinas had spent years teaching across Paris and Italy, yet in this final setting his authority receded, replaced by listening, as if the habits formed through Dominican discipline prepared him to receive whatever might come without explanation or resistance. In the quiet room assigned to him at the abbey, time slowed, marked by candle hours and psalms, while companions sensed that St. Thomas's attention turned inward, toward a familiarity with silence cultivated long before this February of 1274 arrived. No extraordinary sign had yet been spoken of, and no storm gathered outside the stone walls, only the steady breath of a man whose life had balanced inquiry with reverence, allowing calm to settle naturally over the space he occupied. Visitors later recalled that Saint Thomas Aquinas appeared neither fearful nor expectant, but composed, as though the long disciplines of the order had tuned his senses to perceive meaning without seeking reassurance, spectacle, or immediate interpretation within the abbey chamber. In this measured atmosphere, shaped by medieval Italy's monastic life, conversation softened and attention shifted from words to presence, creating a threshold moment where nothing dramatic announced itself. Yet anticipation lingered quietly among those in keeping watch through the long night. St. Thomas's final days did not interrupt the ordinary rhythm of Fossanova Abbey, where bells still marked prayer and meals, reinforcing the sense that whatever approached would unfold within continuity, not disruption, faithful to the pattern of his life and vocation. As February advanced toward its close in 1274, those gathered sensed a turning point near, not through sign or declarations, but through a shared stillness, as St. Thomas Aquinas remained attentive, awaiting completion without claiming insight into what might follow. Late one evening at Fossanova Abbey in February 1274, those attending St. Thomas Aquinas noticed the room's calm deepen, as candlelight seemed insufficient, and attention gathered inward, with no sound outside the stone walls to suggest approaching weather or disturbance. Without warning or spoken prayer, witnesses later recalled a light appearing near St. Thomas, distinct from flame or reflection, described as a sky-blue radiance, gentle yet present, filling the chamber without heat, movement, or the thunder usually linked to sudden illumination. The light did not descend or flash, but seemed already there, steady and contained, allowing those present to remain still, uncertain whether to speak, kneel, or withdraw. As St. Thomas Aquinas continued resting, his posture unchanged within the abbey room. No storm crossed the Italian sky that night, and no wind struck the monastery, reinforcing the strangeness of a brightness, unaccompanied by sound, as if the moment resisted interpretation, offering presence without explanation to those keeping vigil. Observers later emphasized restraint, noting the light neither spread beyond the chamber nor altered objects, remaining localized near St. Thomas, whose breathing stayed even. suggesting the event unfolded without disruption to the ordinary rhythms of his final hours. In that confined space, time seemed suspended as monks watched quietly, unsure how long the glow endured, only remembering that it faded without announcement. Leaving the room returned to candlelit normalcy, unchanged, yet inwardly unsettled. Saint Thomas Aquinas did not react outwardly, offering no gesture or comment consistent with a life trained to receive mystery without grasping it, allowing those present to carry the weight of witness rather than instruction. The absence of thunder, voices, or visible agents distinguished the moment from familiar signs, reinforcing the sense that what occurred belonged to stillness, not display, and resisted immediate framing within the language of marvel or proof. Within Fossanova Abbey, the monks returned to prayer, speaking little of what they had seen, as if silence itself formed part of the event, preserving its gravity without turning it into proclamation or claim. As the night passed toward morning in 1274, the memory of the blue light lingered quietly, unresolved, marking a turning within the vigil, where witness replaced explanation and attention remained fixed on Saint Thomas Aquinas' nearing departure. After Saint Thomas Aquinas died at Fossanova Abbey in March 1274, the memory of that light did not spread as rumor, but remained held by those present, carried quietly into monastic recollection rather than shaped into public claim or immediate interpretation. Within the Dominican tradition, Saint Thomas's final days were remembered alongside his lifelong discipline. So the light was not isolated as spectacle, but absorbed into a broader witness of coherence between study, prayer, and a death marked by restraint. Later generations, reflecting on events in 13th century Italy, noted how the absence of sound or proclamation distinguished the moment, allowing it to rest within church memory without demanding assent, explanation, or theological conclusion from those who heard it recounted. The account endured because it aligned with Saint Thomas Aquinas' known character, a man cautious with words, who had once written that all he produced seemed as straw, reinforcing the sense that his final sign pointed away from himself. At Fossanova Abbey, monks continued their routines long after 1274, and the story remained anchored to that specific room and season, reinforcing that the light belonged to a lived place and time, not to abstraction or legend. Church memory preserved the event through careful retelling, where the emphasis rested on witness rather than wonder, allowing the light to function as a closing harmony to a life ordered toward truth, humility, and silence. Saint Thomas Aquinas' legacy was shaped less by this moment than by the continuity it suggested, that a mind devoted to clarity could meet death without rupture, leaving behind an impression of completion rather than astonishment. Across centuries, those encountering the account were invited into reflection, not certainty, as the blue radiance remained unresolved, encouraging reverence without coercion and faith without demand, within the wider memory of the Church. In medieval records, the event was neither embellished nor erased, but positioned modestly, reinforcing the credibility that emerges when testimony resists excess, allowing meaning to mature slowly within communal remembrance. Thus, the light seen in 1274 closed Saint Thomas Aquinas' earthly journey quietly, leaving behind a witness shaped by stillness, where explanation yielded to trust, and the final impression rested not in brilliance, but in enduring peace.